This tea existed when dearest mother here was a teenager.
Ronald Reagan was president when they
and she
grew
was
this
8.
tea.
She was 8 in 1980.
I was. It was
She was
fabulous
born in
time.
1972.
I want the 80s back. I don't like the 20s. They won't do it all. I want the 80s back.
Just don't get the 1920s.
The 80s called and said, ha ha ha, you have the 20s. They're terrible. They're right. The 80s were much better.
What's interesting is that in the 80s, someone born in the 20s would know exactly what was... See, that's why it's happening again, because everybody who was born in the 20s and remembers the 20s is dead now.
Were the 20s about medical tyranny and totalitarianism?
No.
Or just bad fiscal management?
But there were some really interesting problems.
In the 1920s, people were rather irresponsible with the way they bought their stocks on margin, which means you borrow money hoping to make a profit.
And we were actually...
you have to pay for the stocks whether you make a profit or not.
We were actually talking about that in financial literacy class. Mr. Carter told us, do not buy anything you cannot afford.
And if you can't pay cash, you can't afford it.
And he said, no matter how many benefits a credit card has, it's still a credit card. And when he was on his slide talking about credit cards, he had a long green snake.
I have no affiliation with Dave Ramsey, but I'm going to put a link in the description for DaveRamsey.com so that you can learn why you shouldn't have a credit card. We're using the Guangxi method, where you rinse everything to get it warm and you pour out the first steeping, and then you drink your tea, and you do little bitty steeps over and over, and every steep is a different flavor.
And I did this with my friends. Well, actually, I used a Guy one, but I did this with my friends, and I lured them to my home for my birthday, and I said, I will have cake. I did not tell them it would be a cake of tea. This year they shall have an actual cake.
Emma's friends put up with a lot.
Yes, well, I put up with a lot with them, too.
That looks fabulous and dark already. My first thought was it smelled buttery. Mm-hmm. Did you smell the buttery?
Kind of tastes like that, too.
I've never had a tea that tasted buttery, but this one does.
It kind of has the consistency of melted coconut oil.
I've heard teas called oily. I guess that's what it means.
Mm-hmm.
An oily tea. I've never noticed the tea to be oily before. I guess it has to be 40 years old.
40.
Body. It's got full body. I am far older than 40, thank you.
Right. 10 years to be exact.
I am 50. 50 big ones.
She's well aged.
Half 100.
Mm-hmm. She's
and
lived
let
for
me
half
tell
a century.
you, it's true what they say. Once you hit 50, you don't care what people think anymore.
Smell that?
That is lovely and musty.
It smells like a basement. I like.
A buttery basement.
I don't know what this taste is, but I like it.
Is it popcorn?
It's not popcorn. It's almost like coffee-ish. I had coffee today. Ooh. It's interesting.
Darker.
What exactly is the taste, though? Is it like...
Peppery.
Yeah, but it's something else, too.
Salt?
Like brownies?
Brownies? Peppered brownies. Would you eat a buttered brownie?
I mean, that's what you do when you eat a brownie. You add butter to the brownie, so, you know.
On top?
Not on top. I would eat a caramel brownie. Or a walnut brownie.
Okay, so we approve the 1980s
1984.
35 years Royal Puerh Guangxi from Tealyra. And until we see you again,
Make sure to make time for Teen a Good Book.